But today we were talking about soulmates. And Katarina reckons that, like, that's one of the main questions you get asked, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
will I find my soulmate?
People really want to know if they're going to meet their soulmate and how are they going to meet their soulmate.
Katarina and I have spoken about this a lot. We haven't done an episode on it yet, but we have spoken about it. And we wonder if we're being too cynical in where we've landed with it. But I think we do agree that the idea of there's one soulmate, just one soulmate out there for you that you need to find, and that's your soulmate, and
That's it forever.
and that's it forever. And if you don't find that soulmate, your life's a failure. Yeah, we think that's
Bit of
that's
a fairy tale.
it's all fairy tale. Yeah, it's a bit of a myth. It's kind of nonsense. Would you agree?
I agree. I think soulmates can come in many forms.
Yeah.
It can be a friendship.
Yep, exactly. It can be friends, it can be family, it can be a lover. But the point is that, like, yeah, one person who's like your one and only true soulmate, and that's it. One person was put on this earth for you, is just unrealistic, and also don't really think it's true. It just seems to be a myth that's been peddled. For whatever reason. I mean, look, it's a romantic notion, and if you're a romantic soul, of course you're going to be attracted to that notion. But I mean, I don't know.
I think that as people grow and evolve, they change.
Yeah.
And perhaps the person they have found themselves with have grown in different directions. And sometimes it's best to acknowledge that between the two of you and allow yourselves to be free and move on to the next person so that you can continue growing and expanding. But by feeling that I've married or I'm living with this person and I have to remain with this person forever, I don't feel it's always for the highest good of the couple involved, because I feel, again, as we expand and grow and change, we can become different people and want different things.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, there's so much pressure in people having to stay together because, oh my gosh, we've had this $200,000 wedding and we can't. Yeah, so
yeah.
we think that we're moving into different times. We're expanding in our consciousness, and I feel like we're moving into different times where we have to accept that we may have 4 or 5 different soulmates by the time we've fully come to.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right, because look, it's human nature to want certainty and to want things not to change, because we can really cling on to things because I guess it's a fear of loss, right? We feel like we're afraid to lose things, so sometimes we cling on or we hang on, or humans, I think it's kind of in a lot of people's nature to kind of, you don't want things to change, because change, it
Coming out of your comfort zone.
exactly. Like humans are creatures of comfort, so like you want to remain in that comfort zone, right? So like we don't want change, but the point is that like when change comes, it's usually transformational and changes more often than not for a good reason and for the best. But and sometimes that does mean in relationships, people can grow and develop in different ways, and you might find that, it's like energy is always transforming and moving and changing, and sometimes as humans we have to learn to change with it, right?
Absolutely. And I feel that people put too much pressure on themselves about meeting the one, and what happens is they end up attracting the reverse, where they keep meeting people that are not right for them, and then they get into this cycle of feeling quite, desperate, or feeling quite like this has become so difficult and I'm not meeting the right person because they've put so much pressure on themselves of meeting the one.
Yeah.
But I feel it's important to embrace love wherever you find love. So embracing, allowing yourself to be loved by family, by friends, by your pets.
Yeah.
When you're allowing yourself to embrace love, and when you feel loved for yourself, this is the key to drawing that special relationship to yourself. And I think as children, we were all told the Cinderella story of, Prince Charming coming along and the forever. And I find with people that sometimes when their marriages end, they feel so guilty that they weren't able to continue that marriage, and that causes them then to find it difficult to have other relationships in their lives because they're carrying this guilt of I wasn't able to see my marriage through. And I feel that it's important to live from truth, and the truth that resonates with your own heart. So sometimes you have come to the end of a cycle when it comes to a relationship or a marriage. And I feel that if it's done with love and respect, where two people can sit down and move on and just come to terms with that they're different people and that they've grown apart, that then you're able to move forward in life without doing so much damage to each other. Often this is a difficult scenario to create, unfortunately. But I believe we're evolving as human beings, and we're growing out of the old into new ways of being. So I feel like we need to be able to be truthful to ourselves. And I also feel like so many people just stay in relationships because, like you said, they're afraid, they're fearful that if I leave this person, then I'll be alone. And it's like, but you're feeling alone anyway because you're with someone that you have no connection to. So it's really important, I think, that we live from our truth and not feel fear, because when you're able to be truthful for yourself, to yourself, then you're able to move into the changes and move into the new cycles that life is bringing, the universe is bringing your way. And and there are people out there who've met the one and it's the one forever kind of thing. We're not at all taking that off the table. But I find that is quite rare. I'm sorry, but 30 years of doing this work, I found that is a little rare. And I feel that people are just stuck with, I haven't met the one, and now I'm feeling like I'm getting too old, and I feel embarrassed. And when I go out to functions, my siblings are looking at me like I'm a failure. And it's just awful to see people putting themselves through all this pressure.
It just creates unrealistic expectations, and it's you don't need to do that to yourself. And the thing is like I know that, like, growing up, like my parents are still together and love each other, and they genuinely love each other. They genuinely like being with each other.
But it was that older generation too. I feel like they were on a different timeline to today.
Yeah, quite possibly.
It was kind of a different time.
Yeah, but also what it did for me is, like, I mean, I obviously grew up just thinking that's what everyone was like that was normal, because that's what I grew up with. I was like, oh yeah, mum and dad married, they love each other, and and now as an adult, I just kind of look around and I realize that it's not really all that common. Like, it's actually more common to have the opposite of that. And like you do see like people in relationships where, I mean, look, I'm sure everyone who's watching knows people where you see them and you're like, man, should they really be together? Like, they don't really seem to make each other happy. Like,
you can see there's no connection there.
Yeah, but like you can tell it's like they're doing it. Look, I realize it's hard when kids get involved. Like people might go, oh, I've got to stick it out because the kids are involved.
That's always difficult.
But that also, I think, makes it probably, I mean, I don't know. I'm not the authority on this. Like, this is obviously just my opinion, but like I think it makes things worse.
I think children can sometimes, bring a lot more pressure into a relationship or a marriage that is already challenged.
Right.
And so a lot of people I've met decide to try and stick it out together until the children are perhaps old enough to understand that mum and dad are going separate ways, but they're still going to be there for them.
Yeah.
Every circumstance is unique, but I don't feel that the pressure of finding the one and it has to be forever. I just feel that can sometimes create a lot of unnecessary pain for people. And there are people also who decide to not have a relationship at all, that decide they're quite happy with themselves and have a really full life, and they don't have the time to have a relationship. And I mean, I think you've just got to go with your truth, and I think you've just got to be truthful to yourself and be able to be truthful with your partner.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And we've talked about as well the whole thing about, you know, if you are seeking, like desperately seeking a relationship or the one or whatever you want to say, because it's a way of, I guess, filling up a hole that's within yourself, like
It's not going to
it's
work.
not going to work because, you know, another person is never going to give you what you need to give yourself.
Well, it's true.
And look, and don't think that I'm saying this as an authority. Like I used to be that person. I was the person who, you know, had my own things to figure out and to work on. And I was always like, oh, I just need to find like, you know, you look at someone who you're in a relationship with as like they're going to be the savior or they're going to be here's the final piece to complete me. And it's like the only person who's going to be the final piece to complete you is you, you know, and somebody else is not insignificant, but it's more like it's like a wonderful. It's like icing on the cake. You know what I mean? First, you got to bake the cake. You got to work on the cake. You're the cake in this metaphor,
Yeah.
in this culinary metaphor. Vegan cake, of course, because since Katarina and I are vegan, you gotta make sure that vegan cake is baked well and truly before, and the rest is, you know, icing on top.
I always say to people, no one's going to love you more than you love yourself. So I feel that the most important thing that we need to do is learn to love ourselves and be with ourselves. And when you can fully be in the presence of yourself, then you're able to attract the loving partner and create a beautiful, balanced relationship that can be till the end of your days and beyond. But if you're not willing to do the inner work, if you're running around with all that hate and pain from the last relationship and the one before that, then it will be really difficult to attract that pure unconditional love of that wonderful relationship, because you're so filled with pain, and your inner world just will keep attracting someone else that will continue to mirror that pain to you until you've worked through it.
Yeah,
And once you've worked through it, then you can fill your own heart with your own love, and feel you deserve that beautiful, loving relationship, and feel that you can manifest, you can attract that loving partner.
why do you think a lot of people have trouble with giving themselves that love? Like what? Like because it's like an epidemic, you know. Like, and I think it's something that everyone probably struggles with is feeling that love and appreciation for yourself. Like what? Why do you think that
I
is?
know.
What is it?
And a lot of there's so many reasons, and I think sometimes it's got a lot to do with their upbringing. Perhaps they were raised by parents who were not very loving themselves, they were themselves not in a happy marriage, or weren't able to show their children love, even though they loved them. They weren't loving parents as such.
Yeah.
And also people, I feel, as they get older, they tend to get bogged down by life. They get bogged down by the pressures of life, and they get stuck in that, you know, survival mode of making ends meet, of having their rent paid, of having a job, that they completely disconnect from their hearts. They completely disconnect from loving themselves, that they forget that there's a heart inside of them.
Yeah.
And so as they disconnect from their inner world, then they drift further and further away from the vibration and frequency of love. And then that's when they feel that void. And then after a while, there's this insatiable hunger for someone to love them, to feed them.
Yeah.
And that's where it goes terribly wrong, because whilst you running around with this insatiable hunger and for a relationship, it's just going to keep attracting other unresolved and unhealthy people. So I think that you've got to return to love yourself in order to attract love into your life.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Do you know what? I'm realizing, looking at the camera, it's looking a little dark. I'm going to go over and open my blind so we get more light in. But also, I'm going to, if you're watching, I'm going to brag for a minute. I'm going to show you the view out my out my living room window, because it's a pretty bomb view. Here we go. We're going to go mobile. Whoop. Okay. Let's have a look. There we go, a bit of light. Look at that, that's a pretty kick-ass view.
New Year's Eve, we're all
New Year's Eve. Everyone's invited. Come round to my place. I'm gonna have a ball of you. All right. So now that we've got a bit more light, it's better.
Yeah.
You can see us a little bit better now. Right. So
And often, another thing that people often do
yes.
is connect when they have so much pain in their hearts. They often will attract someone else who has the same pain in their heart. And they connect pain to pain.
Yeah, right.
And they mistake that as a real powerful connection.
Yep.
But it's a connection based on pain, and
Yep.
they're just reflecting each other's pain to each other.
Yep.
And then they start to form this relationship. And it becomes a disaster very quickly because two pain bodies cannot create a loving relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. That's exactly right.
So you really need to do the work. You really need to reconnect with your heart and reconnect with your loving yourself and forgiving the bad relationships. I know that's really hard. We've all got exes that we'd like to, I don't know, I won't say what we'd like to do, but making our peace with it and realizing that people that come into our lives, even the relationships where we've been terribly hurt, are there to show us and teach us that, you know, the areas of our lives where we're not loving ourselves, where we're not embracing who we are. And often in those relationships, we feel like we've given so much of ourselves in order to try and get some love back, and then when the love doesn't come, we feel so drained and betrayed because we've given so much to that person, and how dare they don't love me. And it's all of this stuff that goes on in relationships. And you've got to know that you know when you feel it, when someone just keeps taking and taking and taking and you start to feel so drained. You've got to know that it's time to walk. You've got to know when it's time to walk away, no matter what. Because you're not here to just give and give and give continuously to someone for the sake of being in a relationship.
Yeah.
And that's why, you know, I think it's really important to know in all circumstances that you are okay. It's safe to be on your own. It's safe to be on your own for a little while and work through your pain and work through your healing process in order for you to be able to love yourself enough and step out and no longer fear love and no longer fear that, oh my God, I'm going to attract another person who's going to rob my heart and take my love and run away. So these are the situations that I've sort of helped people through. And, you know, no one likes to be hurt. No one wants to be hurt. No one wants to face the pain of a separation and a breakup. But if it's depleting you of your life force, if it's depleting you of who you are, if it's taking away your love and your joy for yourself, then you should not be there. And you should never feel afraid to walk away from an abusive relationship. I'm sure that, you know, there's always help. There's always friends around or family or, you know, so many counselors and things that people can go to if they find themselves in an abusive relationship. And it's really important to love yourself through no matter what's going on in your relationship. And just love will find you eventually when you are loving yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. This might be a bit of a controversial take on things.
Yes.
Right? But so if you look at the concept of, let's say, you know, the people who are in our life and play big parts in our life are part of like a soul group, and before we came to live in this incarnation on earth, you may have known these people. There might have been agreements made about, I will come into your life to give you this, or I will show up to teach you this lesson. I guess where I'm going with this is it possible that those people in our soul group, let's call them soulmates, is it possible that they can turn up in your life and it can seem negative? So they might teach you a lesson that's painful, or they might bring you into a very difficult situation, but then if you look at that lesson that you've learned from that situation, it might be one of the biggest and best lessons you've ever learned in your life. And it was because of that person, even though you might go, well, that person's an arsehole, or, you know, I hate them or whatever. if you think, wait a minute, that was one of the most valuable lessons in life that I learned, is it possible that maybe they're a soulmate who delivered you?
Well, absolutely, it can be. That, what do they say? They said that the people that bring you the greatest pain bring you the greatest growth.
Okay, yep.
So sometimes
Sure.
you can look at that person who has hurt you really badly and look at, what have I learnt about myself from being in a relationship with that person. Without that person perhaps treating you the way they treated you, you may not have stepped up and gone through the process of loving and healing yourself. So therefore, every person that comes into our life brings us some sort of lesson or mirrors something to us about ourselves that we have denied or ignored for too long. And this is planet Earth, and it's all about learning and becoming the best versions of ourselves, growing. And it is really about returning to love, because when we've finished with this incarnation, we do return to the heart of God, we return to love. So love is ultimately who we are, but it has to be that healthy, unconditional love.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you think that when you are in situations with people or in relationships where things are quite triggering, it's, I feel like it's worth asking yourself why? Like why
I've attracted this.
Yeah, why have I attracted this, and what is being triggered right now and why? Because if you actually start asking those questions to yourself, you might start uncovering things. Again, there's lessons and things to take away, and sometimes it's about less about externalizing everything. Sometimes you've got to take it internal and
Have the conversation with yourself. I always say to people, sit in front of a mirror, look at yourself and have a conversation with yourself. It is the most challenging thing
I bet.
that you will have ever done in your life.
I find the idea of that terrifying.
Yeah, well, you should be doing it, James. You really need to sit in front of a mirror and have a conversation. Ask yourself, why do I not love myself? Ask yourself, ask that person in the mirror, what is it about you that I don't like? What is it about you that I haven't healed? What is it about you that reminds me of my mother, my father, or whatever it can be, is when you're able to really directly look at yourself in a mirror and have that conversation, it is so powerfully healing.
Yeah.
And you're just so powerfully revealing also.
Yeah.
You're going to sit in front of the mirror tonight.
I'm not going to do it tonight.
Yes, you are.
I'm not ready to do it tonight. But like, I'm going to do that.
Takes time. Yeah.
I'm going to do that. Like I
But
find
it shows that how disconnected we are, that we
Yeah.
can't sit and look at ourselves
that
and
weird?
speak to ourselves.
Yeah, that's strange, isn't it? Because
it
like I find the
shouldn't
idea
be.
terrifying. Like
But
not terrifying, but like I find it. The idea makes me uncomfortable, which makes me go, that's a good enough reason
I've
to do
asked
it.
a lot of my clients to do that.
Yeah,
And it's
right.
like the same, oh my gosh. But it's all part of how we're able to really be truthful to ourselves. When you sit in front of a mirror and you speak to that person and you're looking them straight in the eyes, and the truth comes out.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And also, I think it's important when you do finish up with a relationship that you're able to make your peace with it, even for a while if it's hard and you feel really brokenhearted and you can't forgive them. But try to get to a space where you can make peace with what's happened. And then from there, you can look at, again, internally, ask yourself, well, why did it end this way? What happened between us? And be able to be truthful. Having that conversation, that communication with yourself allows you to become so much more aware of yourself and aware of the patterns that you are creating within relationships.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Because we need to put energy into our relationships, just like we put energy into our jobs, into our friendships, and and so when it comes to an end, we also need to do that self-analyzing and be able to make our peace with it,
Yeah.
so that you're not dragging that around in your life or not dragging it into your next relationship.
Yeah. No, that's very, very wise words. It's important. It's really important. Yeah, but I don't know. I'm curious what other people think. Like, it's like, do you believe in soulmates? Do you think everyone has one particular soulmate that's out there for them? Have you met your soulmate? Get in touch with us. Like, email us. Let us know. Because I'm. Are you curious? I'm
I'm really
curious.
curious. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
we've got our viewpoints, but like, I'd really love to hear from what people think themselves, because that's the beauty of being able to learn.
Sharing,
Sharing,
yeah.
sharing is caring. So let us know.
Yeah, do let us know with your comments about how you feel about soulmates.
Yeah,
And yeah, we're going to help each other out to figure it all out,
yeah,
because I think relationships is the most challenging part of human
yeah, yeah, yeah.
interaction. The personal relationships is where we do the most learning about ourselves.
That's true.
But communications are also so important in relationships, and that's why they fall apart, because there's always somebody gets really hurt and they bottle up, and then the other one wants to talk about it, and the other one's all bottled up and doesn't want to talk about it. But look, I think most importantly, it's time. You need to really be truthful to yourself and know when it's time to come out of a relationship that is causing you pain, that is no longer feels right, feels comfortable. That's really
Yeah,
important.
yeah. It's a big deal, but it is important. It is really important. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean, yeah, and I feel like I feel like we've arrived at how we think about this through, I guess, things like, a bit of age, hopefully a bit of wisdom,
Yeah, I think so.
a bit of spiritual insight.
Yeah.
But Katarina and I do check ourselves. We're like, are we just being old and bitter? But I
But
don't
I
think
don't
so.
know. I don't think so.
I
Look,
don't think so.
when I was young, coming from an Italian parents, I remember my parents at 16 were already, well, it's coming to that time where you have to think about meeting someone and
Really?
yeah.
Wow.
Look, it was like, oh my gosh, this pressure of that I had to be out there meeting this right guy. I had to be
Shopping for a
married,
husband.
shopping for a husband by 20 years old. I mean, thank
Wow.
God, I think those
That's
old
pretty.
traditions are gone now.
That's very
But
old school.
yeah, it was a really heavy burden, and it felt like I was under this, pressure of I needed to be married, otherwise I wasn't going to be of any use to
Oh
anybody
my
after
God, what an
that.
awful way to think.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
but again, that's the thinking that permeates so much of society. If I don't have the perfect boyfriend or the perfect girlfriend, or not perfect, but like, if I don't find the one, people feel like they've failed. They feel like, oh, I haven't fit society standards. And what we all have to really realize is that society's standards all the time are absolute horseshit. So don't live your life by them. Yeah.
but I just think, yeah, learn to get comfortable with having a relationship with yourself. Do the work, do the healing. It's so important to be able to love yourself, respect yourself. And when you can be in that space of self-love, self-respect, then you have a much better chance of really attracting love, attracting someone that's going to treat you with the same sort of love and respect back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because love attracts love, and pain attracts pain and more pain. And unfortunately, there's too many people cycling in that in those painful situations,
Yeah.
from one painful relationship to another, and they just never seem to get out of that cycle. So it's so important to do the inner work, and I think it's so important to also love one another and have more respect for each other as human beings. I think we've been taught to be separate, religion, creed, the color of your skin. It's all about, we've been programmed to feel so separate from each other. And so we take this into our relationships.
Yeah.
I think it's a time of expansion, of really coming together and feeling unity amongst humanity, rather than all this separation, and that we have years and years been programmed to be separate and
Yeah.
feel separate. And we're not. We're all on this planet together, and we need to be here to share ideas and to help each other to grow and evolve, because we need to grow and evolve and heal ourselves, and generate that energy of healing and love to our beautiful planet, because obviously, she's suffering, And we are destroying this planet bit by bit. There's no denying of it. And the planet is suffering, and everything needs to be healed. The oceans, the trees, nature, all the other species that live with us on this planet. We need to extend our love to them too, because they're here to be with us.
Yeah.
They're here to share this planet. The whole ecosystem, if that collapses, well, we collapse too. So, we need to, the more we can heal, the more we can heal each other, the more we can lift each other, the more we can lift our beautiful planet into a higher frequency, a higher vibration. I think sometimes people talk about, we're just going to move to a new earth. Well, I don't think that a new earth's going to be waiting for us to take our destruction there, because she ain't going to want us.
That's a terrible idea. It's like, you trashed this one. How about we give you a brand new one? Like,
yeah, we're just going to move to new earth now because, this one's all,
Who's going to want to give us a new earth?
But there's a lot of that going around.
Yeah,
there's a lot of this belief of new earth. And I think that it's up to us to create this new earth. We create this earth we're on and make it like new.
Yeah.
There isn't another earth waiting for us that we're going to shift into, because who would want us?
Yeah, exactly. We're terrible tenants. It's like if there's a landlord, they're going to go, you've trashed this unit. I'm not going to recommend another place for you to live. Like, you're not getting your bond back. You're out of here. You're on the street. Like, that's kind of like what we're looking at. Like, no one's going to be like, here.
I believe the new earth is the transformation of this earth and taking it into a higher vibration, into a higher frequency. And how do we do that? By
changing
ourselves and sending love out to our planet, and being able to live in peace and harmony with all other beings and with nature itself, you know, and sending love to the ocean, sending love to the planet, and coming from our hearts, thinking and feeling from, making decisions from our hearts rather than constantly being in our heads. The eternal search that comes from the head is never ever found, really. It's never, you'll never find what you need when you're searching from your head, but you will when you will find when you search from your heart. And that means facing your own pain and your own traumas of the past and being able to heal that, and then helping other people along the way and unifying and coming together in oneness. And I believe that that's how we recreate this earth into the new earth, the higher earth. Because as we heal, the earth heals, and everything else on the earth heals, and we're also able to clear this planet of all the darkness and all the other dark entities that are here trying to hold us back from our evolution and hold us back from growing, hold us back from being the loving, godlike beings that we were created to be. So if we begin to love ourselves, then those entities have no power over us. Those programs can't hold us back, because to know thyself is the most powerful thing that you can do for yourself. And it starts from that place.
Yeah, absolutely. Very well said. Yeah. I don't know. I think maybe we'll wrap this one up. We're a bit over half an hour, so we might say bye-bye. But I reckon everyone who's watching should, and myself included, should do your exercise where everyone has to go look in the mirror and ask yourself, do you love yourself? If not, why not? Do I need healing? If I do, what do I need healing from? Like, if
I don't have love, why haven't I attracted love? Why have I continuously attracted the wrong person into my life? And it might feel really odd, but continue doing it. Let it go for a day and try it again until you're able to really sit there and have a truthful, honest conversation with yourself. And you will be amazed at how transformed you will feel.
Yeah. And if the idea of doing it makes you feel uncomfortable, like it makes me feel uncomfortable, I think that's like a sign you need to do it.
You need to learn to love yourself.
Yeah, like if the idea of it makes you a bit, then that's probably a sign you need to do it. So anyway, do it. and let us know how you go. Drop us an email or a message. You can find us online. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter. Our emails are out there on all our stuff. So we're not hard to get in touch with. So let us know. We want to know how you go with doing that exercise. And I'll tell you what, I'll share what happens to me.
Yeah.
If maybe. No, I will. I'm gonna be brave. I'm gonna do it, and I'll tell you how it goes. How's that sound?
I think that's wonderful. So
All right.
it's a long weekend here in Australia. So you got
I've got a few days.
Got a few days to sit in front of a mirror and have a little conversation with yourself.
All right,
And get your partner to do it too. Do it do it separately though.
Yeah.
Get your partner to do it also, and then see how that affects your relationship and your communication with each other. So it doesn't mean sometimes that two people, even if they are having challenges in their relationship, can't work them out enough to heal and move forward. Lots of people do that. It's not always has to be an end. Sometimes with the right communication and patience and the right healing tools, you can come together and heal your indifferences and continue and be stronger than ever. So that there are also beautiful situations that happen for people.
Yep.
But it all begins with yourself, honestly. I know it's so easy to point the finger and he did and she said and he said, and it's sometimes you've really got to bring it back to yourself and be truthful to yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
For that healing process to occur, whether you're in a relationship or not.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So there you go. Get to it. Let us know how you go. And I don't know. We'll sign off.
Yes. God bless you all. Have an awesome weekend and lots of love and light to you all.
Indeed. What she said.
God bless.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.